Again, I can't overemphasize the great work that's done day in and day out by the employees, the men and women who work in our jail facilities, and again about how dangerous it could be. And that played out yesterday. So yesterday at about 3:45 a.m. there was an incident that occurred when one of our detention officers was coming back from a medical run. So while we have UMC providing medical care in the facility, there are times when we have to transport inmates outside the jail to get testing or to see a specialist for whatever health condition they might have. We have to provide some minimum level of medical care. So on the way back, in a marked unit, the female officer in uniform, armed, we use armed detention officers for these transports, had a female inmate in the back by the name of Diana Herrera, and we have her mugshot here. And I believe her date of birth is July 15? July, I have it here somewhere. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, July 25th, 1992. She was in our facility for robbery and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. And on the way back from a medical appointment, traveling east on Montana, approaching Joe Battle, the inmate was able to slip out of her shackles, and there is a plexiglass divider in the car between the inmate in the back seat and the officer in the front seat. However, because of the heat yesterday, and there's no vents in the back, the officer had opened a pass-through window in the middle of that plexiglass to allow the air conditioner to get into the back seat. Well, the inmate used that opportunity to reach through, grab the officer's gun. There was a struggle. The inmate was able to get the gun out of the holster. There was a fight over the gun. The officer was able to stop the vehicle and put it in park so there was no accident. They're struggling over the weapon. The officers got the weapon by the slide, and the trigger gets pulled by the inmate. But the weapon is close to the officer's face, and as the weapon discharges, either, we don't know yet, we're still investigating this, either the bullet hit her lip and went through the windshield, or the pressure from the release caused the injury to the lip. But the officer did sustain an injury to the lip, as well as being hit in the head with the butt of the gun. The fight continued. The inmate was able to get her arm around the neck of the officer. Luckily, there was a off-duty customs officer behind her who saw what was going on, ran up, pulled his weapon, and stopped the assault. So the inmate is still in custody, was never able to escape, was additionally charged with attempted capital murder, and booked on a $1 million bond. So I'm very, very proud of the officer's actions in trying to prevent this inmate from escaping, holding on to the weapon, fighting, trying to keep that weapon out of the inmate's control. This could have been a disaster for the public had that inmate gotten free. But the officer fought. She ended up in the hospital but was released last night. She'll be recovering. So no injuries that were life-threatening, but clearly a traumatic incident, and shows again how dangerous it is for our jailers who come to work every day dealing with individuals who would do something like this. And also I'm very proud of the customs agent who off-duty stopped to help this detention officer. And so we're not going to be releasing the name of the officer or the customs officer right now, but we will at a later time. Does anybody have any questions about that incident? I have another thing to talk about, or the inspection.
Inmate was staying through Julio Sanchez?
No, at the jail annex.
At
She's in our
annex, yeah.
in custody of the sheriff's office for state charges.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So you're saying that the bullet just grazed her lip, or we're not exactly sure?
We don't know. We don't know. She's got a significant injury to the bottom of her lip on the right side, and we don't know if the bullet grazed it as it went out the front windshield, or if it was the pressure of the round going off. That's still under investigation.
The officer was alone, right?
Yes. Yeah, she was by herself, which is typical. Yeah.
Would you consider, I mean, obviously there's a lot that goes into this to figure out what happens and stuff like that, but to this point, would you consider having 2 officers in the vehicle? Or just
Well,
stay the way it is?
Well, I think there's we're certainly going to look at the entire event, as we do anytime something like this happens, to determine what we can do to make it safer for our officer and safer for the public too. We don't want an inmate escaping out into the public. So we're going to be looking at the holster, how the inmate was able to get that out so easily. That shouldn't happen. Not all holsters are the same, and for an inmate to be able just to pull it out of the holster, there's a problem there. We're also going to be looking at those pass-through windows and what we can do to secure those. And certainly there are cases where we do use 2 officers if we have an inmate who's designated as an escape risk. But in this one, we had no indication that this inmate was going to be a problem.
And just to clarify really quickly, the inmates got out, so they were in the back and made their way to the front, and that's how they were able to get out of the vehicle?
No, the inmate never got out of the car.
Okay.
No. She was able to reach,
Inside the vehicle.
yes, she was able to reach through the pass-through, grab the gun, and hit the officer with the butt of the weapon. As the officer was holding on to the weapon, it discharged. Right.
Since the weapon was discharged, is there going to be an investigation into that? Because I'm not sure how that works.
Well, we're investigating the incident, but it's not a shooting review team because the officer didn't discharge the weapon, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, that's what I would mean.
Yeah.